Seems like every day something crazy, something important, something impactful happens that affects this country, the people in the country, and the upcoming election. Of course, I'm here every day. I talk about those things here on TikTok. But some of those topics need a deeper dive. You need to look deeper into what's going on to really understand the facts. And sometimes you need a different perspective than this guy. Well, that's why I want to encourage you to check out the Rational Boomer podcast. I do a podcast every day, have for a long time. I've done nearly 1,300 podcasts. And in the podcast, we look at those topics and try to give people information that's valuable going forward. Now, in the podcast, sometimes it's just me. We talk about the news of the day. Sometimes I read emails from listeners and only listeners. We talk about the things they want to talk about. Sometimes I do a TikTok live. I record that, and that becomes the podcast because, again, we get a lot of input from viewers or listeners. Those are always fun shows. We also have a lot of guests on the Rational Boomer podcast, and all of the guests are listeners of the program. And I did that specifically because I have a lot of respect for my listeners. They're very smart, they're very articulate, and they have an interesting perspective. And on today's podcast, we welcomed Eric from Iowa. He's been on a number of times. He's a very smart guy. He's a little younger than I am, so he has a little different perspective, and he lives in Iowa. This show was particularly good, so I hope you check it out. It's very easy to find. You can go to anywhere you get podcasts and search Rational Boomer, or you can go to Spotify. If you want the video version of the podcast, you just go to YouTube, search Rational Boomer, and there it is. I hope you join us. I hope you listen or watch the podcast, but I hope you participate as well, whether it be sending in an email or coming on the program. What you have to say is important to me, important to the show, and important to this country. So please check out the Rational Boomer podcast.